Welcome to Divine Encounters. I am your hostess, Dominique Rivera, the Oracle of Apollo, and tonight is Wednesday night supernatural story time. We have another guest this week and another supernatural story time to inspire you, to give you some hope, some wisdom, some experience through the eyes of someone else. I hope you like and subscribe. We're here every Wednesday night and Sunday night at 7 p.m. to entertain thee and illuminate thee. So make sure you hit that button, turn that bell on, and let's jump right into the show.
It's paradise inside of our hearts, and it feels so nice to pray in the dark. Beings of light, see who you are. 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 See who you are.
Wednesday night, and we're all together. And you could be anywhere in the world, but I'm glad you're here with me. Make sure you guys bring your high quality H2O. And today, I'm bringing in some Goya. Porque si no es Goya, no puede ser bueno. And no, this is not sponsored by Goya. I'm just a Latina woman who grew up on this. But Goya, if you see me, I am sabrosa, just like this drink. And yes, get some hydrating coconut water, you guys. Water is very important. It helps move energy through the body. And because you're going to be receiving and consuming such beautiful information and nuggets of wisdom today, it actually helps with memory. Water is super hydrating. So make sure you go out there and get something to drink in your body. Today, I have Mr. Gabriel Klingman. He is here and he's going to be sharing a super natural story time with you guys. So make sure you get the kitties, the husband, and come on in and let's all gather together. And if you're wondering where I'm at today, you guys already know it's past Memorial Day weekend, and I'm like a bird. Every Memorial Day, I'm out until Labor Day, and this has already started. I am in Fort Jackson, South Carolina today because my nephew is graduating from the Army, and today is 20 years that I walked that same exact field in my Army greens, and I was so proud. Today was so beautiful, and I'm so grateful. And if you are going to be in Ohio this weekend, come see me. A lot of you came out to see me at Pennhurst Asylum. And if you TikTok land or anybody in Divine Encounters want to come meet and greet, get a reading from me or a talisman tattoo, I will be hosting a Violet Flame and group healing in Ohio for the Pyro Music and Arts Festival this weekend, 3, 4, and 5. And I would love to see you. Let's talk, sit with the elders, get some ice baths and some beautiful medicine that I will be imparting. And I would love to meet you there. Fantastic. All right, let's bring on Mr. Gabriel. So you guys at home, I know you guys love this on the replay. Hashtag seekers. If you're watching this on the replay, make sure you throw up those hearts. Let it be known that your energy and your love is being put into the world. And with that being said, let's go ahead now and bring him on. And just like that, you have arrived.
Howdy, howdy.
Very dramatic with the whole lightning and everything.
I
Nothing,
love it.
nothing's too good
Knowing
for
you,
yes.
exactly. Knowing you, that is par. That is par.
Gabriel, thank you so much for being here. I haven't seen you since last year at the Power We.
Yeah, it has been a year, hasn't it?
Yes, we
Wow.
just went to the Romania trip. We missed you.
Oh, that had to be a blast.
It was. It was. I feel all of us came back transformed. We poured into so
Mm,
many children, but we also got poured into. So
mm.
I'm expecting you to be there for the next one, though, for
Hell
next
yeah.
year's Power Week.
Hell yeah. That would be a blast. That would be an absolute blast.
Let everybody know at home a little bit about who you are and your offerings or the medicine that you're bringing in today.
Yeah. So, what's up, everybody? Gabriel Klingman here. Um, my background is very different than I think a lot of people who are typically into the super spiritual. I come from like a business background. Like I am an operations manager. Numbers is my thing. But the spiritual doesn't really discriminate against what your background is. So, despite coming from the super logical and analytical side, I have really wandered a lot of different faiths, going through Christianity, Buddhism, to like every throw out all spirituality. And you're going to hear about this a little later, and how this really interesting situation happened where you throw out all spirituality and then your eyes get open. And I am a true seeker. And I think that's what I want to bring across today is that if you're a true seeker, like there's going to be shit that goes down. Life is going to be wild. And you'll hear about some of it. But if you're a true seeker, you'll find your way.
Absolutely true. And I didn't even know that. And this is what we call the following here, the seekers. So I think that's amazing. And of course, this is why you have such a great vibe about you. Of course, you're a seeker. I knew that part. All right. So I
That's
like to
fair.
start off. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I'm saying that's absolutely fair.
I like to start off every episode with an angel number, and today's no different. So I'm going to share a number with you and the collective, and you guys just listen, receive, and see if there's something in here for you. So to that, I'll say, what's good? All right, angel numbers 543. This is a mix of the vibrations and attributes of the number 5, the number 4, and the energies of the number 3. Number 5 encourages us to be true to ourselves and live in our lives accordingly and resonate with personal freedom, making positive life choices and important changes. And we have that Pluto coming up into Aquarius very soon, and it's going to be sitting there for quite some time. Talk about freedom, making positive life choices and important changes to our lives, learning life lessons, variety, versatility, adaptability, resourcefulness, motivation, and progress. Number 4, it relates to working determinedly towards achieving our goals and aspirations, hard work and effort, building solid foundations, stability and practicality, system and order because it's stable, dependability, honesty, and integrity. Number 4 also resonates with the energies of the archangels. Number 3 relates to courage, forgiveness, open mindedness, manifestation, and attainment, self expression and communication, optimism and enthusiasm, skills and talents, growth and expansion. Number 3 also resonates with the vibrations of the ascended masters. So, angel number 543 indicates that the angels are protecting and guiding you through life choices at this moment. And these changes will assist you on your soul's journey. Have confidence in your choices and your actions, and knowing you are on the right path. You have been given your creative abilities for important reasons. So look upon them as a blessing and useful tool to get you throughout life. There is a beauty in your creativity, and you're encouraged to spread this beauty and allow it to touch the hearts of many, far and wide. Your creativity can manifest and be expressed in whatever way your heart and soul desire. Trust your angels to bring you opportunities and solutions to match your passions, talents, and interests. Angel number 543 is a message from your angels to maintain a positive attitude and outlook in regards to your life. When you hold positive thoughts, guess what? It attracts positive energies and auspicious opportunities. Feel free to ask for assistance and guidance from the angels. Anytime you feel the need, be assured of positive outcomes when angel number 543 appears repeatedly. All right, that is our angel number for today, sir. How are you feeling about that?
Wow, that resonated so much. That resonated so much. Yeah, thank you. I was like, I want to see your face as I say this. I had a really big change. I haven't. That's fine. Par from my life. I'm announcing it live on television before I tell anyone. I haven't talked about this, but I have had a rediscovering of purpose in the last probably month or two, and a lot of that has to do with um, retapping into some of the creative energy and being true to myself and true to what I love and what drives me and the true value that I can offer. And the reason it has taken a while for me to get this, it's been a couple months in the making, is because I didn't have the courage to step up and make that step, to actually take that step forward. And that's a change that I just started to accept within the last week. And so resonates spot on, absolutely spot on.
That's wonderful and so beautiful. And when we have purpose, our purpose, for those of you out there who are purpose driven, I know I'm definitely a creature of service and purpose driven, but over time it can change. We fulfill what I think is a promise to master an aspect of ourselves or a longing that the soul needed to experience. And when we've ascertained that information and it's ingrained into us as wisdom, we then can move on and a new purpose unfolds. Something more challenging, more filling. I'm not going to say greater or better, but more of everything.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just writing about this I think last week. It's that like we have the idea that purpose is something that it's like the one thing that drives you, right? Like there's the idea of finding the one person. It's that same idea that there's this one thing that you should dedicate your entire life to. And I don't, in my personal experience, that hasn't resonated. What has resonated is there's been a time and a place for different purposes. There's been
Yes.
a purpose when I was a touring musician. There was a purpose when I was a barista at Starbucks. There's a purpose when I was helping build brand businesses, and there's a purpose now. Every single avenue and time and place can be driven by a different purpose. And I think people, speaking to myself, get caught up in the idea that, oh, if it's not one driving thing, then you're going from one to another. I don't think that's accurate. And so for those listening, you have the freedom to acknowledge that what you thought was your purpose before may not be your purpose now, and vice versa. And you have the freedom to explore what that could look like.
Yeah, it's the way you're expressing it is the emergence of the personality, right?
Mm-hmm.
The personality, which is the expression of the soul and the spirit. And if you're feeling, for those of you watching, if you're feeling like you're not in love with your purpose anymore, it's okay. It's okay to discover a different part of you, a different facet, and try something new and see what sparks you, and then follow that. Follow that feeling, follow that spark.
Yeah, you never know where that will lead. It's always fun.
It is always fun, hopefully to a lot of fulfillment and joy.
Very true.
Well, thank you. What a beautiful way to start off this episode. We're just diving real deep in there just in like 2.2 seconds. I'm in love.
I love that.
We're going to go into our mindfulness moment for you guys at home. If this is your first time watching Divine Encounters, the purpose of this is to give you a tool that you can take home right within this episode. And basically, we're going to put 60 seconds on the clock, and we're just going to breathe into ourselves for those 60 seconds. Then we're going to notice where we are at after those 60 seconds, and let this be a reminder to you that all it takes is 60 seconds to gain control, to gain stability, and to take your power back. So before we jump into that, Gabriel, I'm going to give you a few seconds to think of, from 1 to 10, where are you at energetically in this moment, and a feeling word. And for you all at home, from 1 to 10, where are you at energetically? 10 being the most, 1 being the least. And what is your feeling word? What is your word, sir? And your number?
6 and excited.
6 and excited. Okay, my number is like a 7.2. And I feel like a rocket ship about to explode because I'm
Come
so
on.
amped for like this weekend. I'm just like, oh
Yeah.
my God, so much to do. That's how I feel on the inside.
Love that. Love that.
With the grit voice and everything. Oh my God.
Exactly. 100%.
All right, so let's see here. We're gonna go ahead now. We're gonna put 60 seconds on the clock. You're gonna hear a bell ring. Your eyes are gonna close, and we're gonna go ahead and jump right into it. Big breath in, eyes are closed, 60 seconds on the clock, and we're just noticing the body. Breathing into that sense of the self and inviting all tension, anything that is no longer in service to the body, to rise up, to be released from any aspect of the body, any point in time in all multidimensional planes of existence. Breathing into that diaphragm, belly breath, nice, long, slow exhales. And just bringing something that you're grateful for into the moment. And breathe into that thought, that invitation. Letting go of anything else. And just give yourself this moment for taking this moment for you and checking in. Gently coming back into your body, an invitation to wiggle your fingers and your toes and gently opening your eyes. And when you guys are ready at home, what are you feeling? What is your number? Did you get any sensations, colors, textures, emotions? And what is your feeling word? Gabriel, how are you feeling? And did your number change?
So the feeling is like a peaceful excitement. It's this calm, assured, peaceful. And
Mm,
yeah, that was really nice. I love that you do this. Um, the number, I don't think the number changed. It just changed how it manifested.
I see. I see.
Mm,
For me, thank you for sharing. For me, I would say I'm also still at my same number, but I do feel a lot of energy coming in. And then I feel like it went right into my heart space. I feel
mm.
really soft and I feel pink. I feel soft and pink.
Oh, that's great.
That's my expression
Mm,
for today. And
yeah.
Lisa Harrison, thank you. Mr. Gabriel is very much taken. His girlfriend is wonderful. I've
Yeah,
met her. She's a great lady.
she is. Oh.
Don't worry. Maybe by the end of the summer, I'll make an announcement. We'll see what happens.
Oh, I've been following. I've been following little by little.
I got secrets.
You got more that I don't know. Shit. Okay.
All right. So we are going to be jumping into your story time, Gabriel.
Oh,
But let's
nice.
go into this very quick commercial and we're going to come right back. And Gabriel's going to share his supernatural story time. All right. Thank you for watching Divine Encounters. I am your hostess with the mostest hair, Dominique Rivera, the Oracle of Apollo. And here we are with Mr. Gabriel Klingman. And he is going to be sharing his supernatural story time with us. And I would love for you to just start wherever you feel is the most organic. Why are you muted?
Oh, my bad. Because I was talking to myself on the commercial break. That's why.
Casual.
Exactly. I'm glad you put it on side by side here, because I want your input on this story, and I'm very intrigued to hear your thoughts as it goes through. So, um, what I want to explain and what I want to share with you guys is my story of rediscovering the divine and how
Mm,
that happened. So, quick backstory before I jump in to the actual fun part. Backstory is I grew up super Christian. We went from all sorts of different religions, or all sorts of different sects of Christianity. So super charismatic, tongues, healings, falling on the floor, prophecy, the whole shebang, to like super Baptist, you play drums and you're of the devil, to Catholic, you name it, we've been a part of it. And then somewhere along the line, long story here, but I decided to walk away from it all. And I said, not just goodbye to Christianity, but I said goodbye to anything spiritual, all of it, everything. I'm done with all of this. And this has been my entire life. My entire identity was based in spiritual. And I said, I'm done. I threw it out. And then fast forward, I had a couple revelations that didn't change my perspective, but opened the door.
mm,
In early 2020, I think it was like April of 2020, and then September of 2020. This was actually when I met Lauren. Um, he introduced me to someone, and this guy Ben said, "Hey, we got on a call, and Lauren was like, you need to meet Ben." Ben was like, "Hey, we just connected really well, 20-minute call." And he told me 2 days later, he shot me a message. And he's like, "Hey, I know I literally just met you. We've only talked for 20 minutes once on a call, but I want to fly you out to Utah and to meet a bunch of people, be a part of something that's going out here." And I was like, I had just broken up with my girlfriend of 3 years at the time. My entire life was in shambles. And I was like, there is nothing holding me here. Let's go for it. Let's do it. So I went. I show up at this Airbnb in Utah. And right when we open the door, literally instantly, just boom, energy. Just, you know, when that wave hits. Yeah,
mm,
that.
mm.
Except my reaction was, what in the world? What the hell? I was actually I was pissed. I was so upset. I was like, because my concept was Christianity. My concept was God. I was like, God, this was supposed to be a business or a networking thing. What are you doing here? I do not want you here. Why? I haven't talked with you. I haven't connected with you in
Oh, I got
years.
it.
I was so
Okay.
upset. Yeah.
Wow.
Um, but given my background, and like that was how I grew up, when that type of energy hits there, it resonates. You know, when something hits and like there's nothing you can do, like you just instantly go into this state. So that's what happened. I was pissed, and then like 15 minutes later, I'm in a corner and I'm rocking back and forth, and just that
Mm,
energy is flowing through me. And there's like 20 people here, and I don't know a single person. And then I get this inclination, hey, go pray for this lady. And I said, what? I was like, what? And he's like, go pray for that lady. Yeah. Oh, just wait, girl. And so I'm like, I was again upset instantly. I was like, not only have you and I not talked, God, like not only have we not talked for years, I haven't prayed for anyone since I was like 12. Why would I go do this? And about 30, 60 seconds later, I was like, fine, I'm doing it. Because I have this belief that if I truly believe there is something I'm supposed to do, I will do it regardless of how I feel. And so I said, okay, fine, I'm doing it. I went up to this lady, no idea who she is, right? Literally, I'm in Utah, stranger, no idea. I walk up and I'm like, hey, this is going to sound strange, I'm sure, but every now and then I get this inkling that like I should pray for someone. Sometimes I get prophecy. Sometimes I see things that may or may not be relevant. Is it okay if I just put my hand on your shoulder and pray?
mm.
And she said, yeah. And the second I did, I kid you not, the second I did, I put my hand on her shoulder, boom, that energy that I was feeling 10x instantly. And my legs started to give way. I had patched myself on the counter next to me. I'm like, oh God. And I'm like starting to breathe, like, oh my God, what's happening? She instantly, hand on the shoulder, she's bawling her eyes out.
Oh,
Uh,
wow.
yeah. And I was like, oh, okay. I was like, I was not ready for this. I grew up seeing healings. Like I've seen legs grow. I've seen all sorts of crazy stuff, right? But it had been like probably 5 years since any of that even remotely was on my horizon. So I was totally out of my element. Um, and then after about 60 seconds of literally just shaking, I take my hand off. She's like, like just crying. I put my hands on the counter. I shimmy my way over to the bar stool, sit down. And the second I sit down, like as my butt sits down, I have this vision. And prophecy in Christianity, call it prophecy. That is just something I've always had. Healings, prophecy, like those are my gifts. And so I had this vision of this like 18-year-old. Or this young girl. I didn't know 18 specifically, but young girl who's blonde, and then the redhead, this girl in front of me, or this lady in front of me is redhead, and then there was this younger girl who's blonde, and they weren't speaking, but the young one and her were communicating. Even though they weren't speaking, there was still communication happening. And so I asked her, I was like, hey, this is real strange. Literally, I don't even know your name, but does this ring a bell? Like, does this resonate at all? And I told her like roughly like older teenager, blonde hair, and that's all I said. And you, and her eyes got wide, and she said, "That sounds like my daughter." And I said, "Oh," and she said, and I said, "Is there anything that's going on?" And she said, "My daughter stopped talking to me 6 months ago, and I don't know why." And
Mm.
so I got to speak just in Christianity, they call it edification. Again, these are the language that I grew up with. I
No,
was
thank
like,
you for sharing it.
yeah, and I was like, oh, she, even though you guys may not be physically speaking, she's still looking out for you. She's still watching you. You're still communicating, connecting with her, even though you may not be sharing words. She starts crying again. I look around, and the first time I actually looked around, and I see like 2 or 3 other huddles of the same thing happening. And I was like, what is all of this? This is so crazy, because I grew up super Christian. My perspective was this only happens in Christianity up to this point. And here I am at this networking business retreat in Utah with 20 random strangers, and this is happening. And so after another 30, 60 seconds, she stops crying. I'm catching my breath, and she looks to me and she says, "Thank you, by the way, for the shoulder." And I said, "Yeah, like what happened?" And she was like, "Well," sorry, this gets me every time. She was like, "Well, I was with my ex for years, and he was abusive, and I didn't leave him until he broke my left shoulder. This one, until he broke my left shoulder, and it's hurt ever since then. And this is the first time in years where it doesn't hurt." And that was the first 20 minutes of arriving at this place, right? And so that set the stage. Fast forward a little bit. This was a weekend. Fast forward a little bit. Like I said, there was a couple other like circles, a couple other groups of people where this was happening. That night, some substances may or may not have been involved. I don't know what I can say on here. There may or
Whatever
may
you
not.
want, whatever you want to
Cool.
share.
I
If it's
accidentally took
medicine, you can
90
share whatever
milligrams
medicine.
of 90 milligrams of edibles accidentally, not realizing it was that much. And I'm not one who has had taken much edibles up to this point. Yeah, so that happened later that night. But and it's now a hard rule that I don't take them for, but just it gets a little too wild for me. But what happened? I took those. The world starts to skip. I go upstairs to my room. The world starts to spin. Time starts to skip. I look out to this window, and I'm in the second floor, and it goes 2 floors down, but then it drops down to like a basement level, and it's concrete. There's like a hot tub and a grill and stuff. And I look out because I'm up in my bedroom, second floor. I look out, I see this window, and I think, I don't know who I am. I don't know what I am, where I am, why I'm here. I don't know anyone. I must be dreaming. What do you want to do in a dream? 2 things. You either run around naked or you go and fly. And I was like, I want to do either. And so I figured let's go for the fly. So I see the window and I start inching my way to the window. Literally, like just my world was literally just glitching. Colors were vibrant. And I'm up against the wall. Next thing I know, I'm fully clothed, but in a shower. And then I'm back in my room, and like it was the weirdest experience. I finally get about 3/4 of the way to the window, and then thank God, something clicked. And I remembered I took the edibles, and I said, "Oh, I'm not dreaming. I'm tripping balls. Noted. Noted. And it felt like 45 minutes to get back to my room, but I finally got back there. I laid down, and then this is the revelation that happened. Again, for context, I grew up super Christian. So I showed up at this event with my Christian background. Throughout this night, before I took the edibles, I talked to some people, and I realized out of the 20 or so there, I was one of, I think, 2 people that had a Christian background. We had people who were Wiccan, people who were atheist, agnostic, Buddhist, Muslim, Mormon, no religions, or super spirituality. You name it, they were there. It was so fascinating. And going around, other people were experiencing healings. Other people were experiencing this prophecy. Other people were experiencing this energy. And as I'm laying in bed, I had this revelation, and I say a divine revelation, that though I came with one perspective of this is the language that I use for any of this. Even though I had thrown it all out, I still had the concept. This was my box, and this is the language I used to explain this experience. Everyone else came here, and everyone else had different language, but we were all sharing the same experience. We all had different language for the same thing. So over that weekend, we decided, instead of calling it spirit or energy, or instead of calling it spirit, we called it energy. Instead of God, it was the woo-woo. Instead of prophecy, it was knowledge. We just had our own language for that weekend because everyone had their own language that they came up with. So we just decided on this. And the moral of this really is, regardless of where you're at on your journey, regardless of whether you are all in, all spiritual, absolutely everything, or if you're like, you know what, I tried that and that failed, screw this all, I'm done. If you're seeking, you'll find, like, the divine will find you if you're open. That's the moral.
And that's true. And as you're sharing this, I got like the Tower of Babylon vibes happening. All the different languages being split up. But what
Yes.
that thought actually brought me to wasn't separation or division, which is like what the story is, right?
Mm-hmm.
But unity
Mm-hmm.
is where this brought me to, was the ability to get out of our personal preconceived boxes and judgments and criticisms
Come on.
that would normally divide us or place fear inside of us, which makes us judgmental.
Mm-hmm.
But you embrace the fact that even though the expression, the words, the way it was presented was different, ultimately, it was still the same.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a massive thing to really integrate into oneself, because I travel a lot and I've traveled all around the world, and I have the beautiful privilege of speaking to so many people from so many backgrounds. And
Amazing.
words can definitely hinder how much someone could receive,
Mm-hmm.
how much they're willing to accept, until there's a commonality in the language. So we have to learn how to speak what the other person is speaking,
Mm-hmm.
with the intention that we're on the same wavelength, even if the way it was presented to us has always been different.
How do you navigate that personally? Because you've traveled a lot, you talk to a lot of people. How do you personally navigate that?
So usually people approach me. I
No
never
surprise. You attract it. Yeah.
I never have to approach anyone. I never have to ask someone if they want a session. People just come sit
Amazing.
at my table. And
Yeah,
and
they do.
that's there's something, maybe it's my invitation, my unspoken invitation that comes out, and people sit at my table. And
Mm-hmm.
they always lead with I am, insert label and limited belief here. In
Yeah.
the first like 3 sentences of meeting someone, they always say I am, insert
Mm-hmm.
there. And when this I am phrase comes up, I listen to the in the manner in which they're expressing, and I've used my knowledge of what that feels like in myself, and then I mirror back the language that they have, and then I'll say, well, we call it this, but when I'm speaking, I will still mirror the language back to them, because
Mm-hmm.
that's the only way they're going to receive me.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to shut them off to receive the same exact thing that we're talking about, even though
100%.
I've learned it differently.
Yeah. So you make that translation in your head as they're talking to you, and you just translate that in your head and be like, okay, that is connected to this. I can see or feel that, mirror that back.
Yes, because and Buddha says it's not about the ability to articulate, it's about the ability to speak to who's listening. So if you can't speak to who's listening, then what audience do you have?
Come on. That I'm gonna do it anyway for dramatic effect. That deserves a standing ovation. Not much difference here, but yes, that it does. Man.
So we have to be able to communicate, right? That's
Mm,
that's ultimately what it's about. They
mhm,
receive us, we receive them, and gaps are closed. And I feel
mhm.
also, even coming down, like I like how you said for that weekend we use this language instead of prophecy, we use
Yeah.
knowledge. You even went a further and simplified it to the objective of what it was.
Mm,
And using simplistic language, it's not condescending, and
mhm,
it's not that I think someone is unintelligent,
mhm.
but I want to get my point across in a
Totally.
manner in which we all agree on.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
sometimes I'll even use sound effects.
That doesn't surprise me at all. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me at all. It's the end result in the objective is more important than the language that you're using to get there. And I think so many people get hung up on, is it this label? Is it this language? Is this how I explain or articulate that belief? And words are very powerful, but their primary power comes from the meaning derived from them, and every person, when they say a, every person has a slightly different contour on what that a actually means. And so what we're doing is just wiping away the a and getting to the contour that they have. Is that a good explanation, good way to say that?
I believe so, because it's like we could all write out the letter A, and
Yep.
not one, two of us will write out that letter A
Mm-hmm.
exactly like the next person. It will
Mm-hmm.
have its own signature all on its own. So
Mm-hmm.
that's definitely a beautiful
That
way
makes
to
sense.
express that. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's been some time since you had this experience now.
Yes, it has.
So you've had some time to integrate it. You had some time to apply new tools, new language.
Mm-hmm.
Where is Gabriel now? And
Mm-hmm.
by the way, I met you around this time.
Yep. Yes, you did.
It was in that little pocket. It was in that
Yep.
right in that little pocket I met you, because I'm like, wait a minute. I was sitting at the table with you. I remember this.
Yes, exactly.
So where's that Gabriel then and
Mhm,
now? And
mhm.
how do you think that influenced you, who you became ultimately in this now moment?
I love a good question. That is a phenomenal question. Specifically, how has that influenced who you have become now in this moment? Oh, okay. But get off of that. Who was I? Who am I now? How have I integrated that, and how has that helped me become who I am today? Hugely. So that lesson, I took that lesson that what separates us is less belief and experience and more the language and how we explain it. I took that and generalized it out. And for me personally, this is something that I'm exploring, is the connection between spirituality, science, psychology, philosophy, and just looking at all of it, and even in just general human nature, and saying, okay, are all of these different expressions and different ways to say something, and ways to explain the general experience of life? Everyone has different preconceived notions. Everyone has different background, different culture. We all come to our conversations with different ways that we'll learn. And so, do some people need the structure and the discipline that is there in science? Do some people need the intuition side that's more of the psychology? Do some people are super heady and they need to be able to process, and that's how they feel the philosophy? Or are they more of an experiential, religious, or spiritual side? And even within each of those sects, there's different ones. Within religion, you have the heady, the experiential, the super disciplined, all in different sects of religion. And so for me, it's actually broadened out to how I view all of life and how I interact with everyone. The reason I have using the language I am here on this conversation is because the context is spiritual. I could have this exact same conversation in the context of like most conversation in the context of business, which is like my day job. I could have this conversation in the context of science, in the context of anything. That was something that didn't exist in me beforehand. Uh, and so to me, that has been one of the biggest ones. The other is just opening my eyes to the spiritual again. That was something I had completely turned off. Like I said, just threw it out, said never again. And then going through that, I'll share a little more about that weekend. Because I had mentioned earlier that my identity, just in passing, that my identity was tied into my belief and my Christianity before I threw it out. That was true, and I underplayed how true that was. That was crippling. When I threw out Christianity and all spirituality, I threw out everything that I thought I was. I was empathetic, I'm caring, passionate, I actively listen, I am present. All of those were rooted in my belief in Christianity. When I threw that out, all of that went. The ex that I had broken up with while we were still together, I asked her right towards the end, I said, if you could use any word to describe me, what would it be? And in all honesty, this wasn't a dig, this wasn't a jab, this was a genuine, honest answer. She said apathetic. And that broke me. I'd look in the mirror and I hated who I was. And I didn't know how to get back to that without bringing in all of Christianity, which I have emotional blockages, emotional walls against. And so this weekend, I allowed me to assimilate and to bring back in some of that spirituality without stepping back into Christianity, and allowed me to reintegrate who I was and who I wanted to be, the person I wanted to be, back into who I was without bringing in the parts that I didn't want.
Wow. Without bringing the parts back that I didn't want.
Mm-hmm.
So were you able to make peace, let go, or forgive those parts? Were you able to embrace that shadow and then lovingly release it? Did that ever come to be?
In a way, what happened that weekend, I'll tell another quick story on there, another two stories. I think it was towards I think it was the second day. There was this girl, Demelza, who was there. Incredible human. And there was something about her that we just connected on this really deep level. And so after a lot of people are going to bed, we're laying on the ground, holding hands, just looking up to the ceiling and talking for like 3 or 4 hours. And I had just met her a few hours ago, and she said this to me. She said, do you know what I love about you, Gabriel? You are passionate, you care, and when I speak, I can tell you're actually listening. I had just met her 12 hours ago. Had just broke up with my girlfriend at the time, my ex, like 2 weeks before this, 2 or 3 weeks before this. I was still in that absolute spiral where I looked in the mirror and I hated myself. This was not the person that I thought I was. And yet here was someone I met 12 hours ago telling me, this is who you are. And she's very spiritually connected and had shown that before. And I literally just started bawling my eyes out, laying on the ground, just started crying. And that moment changed me. And the next morning I woke up and there was this other girl there, and I looked over and my heart just overwhelmed with love and compassion. And she was going through a lot in her life, and just my heart broke for her. And I realized that was the first time, and this is such a it's a dick thing to say, and I know that when I say it, but that was the first time in years that I genuinely cared about another human being. First time
I
in
don't think that's
years.
addicting to say at all. That's a really powerful understanding of who you were becoming.
It's addicting to say because I was in a relationship for 3 years, all through that. And I realized I cared more for this stranger in front of me, this person I met that weekend, than I had for my girlfriend of 3 years. Um, that's where it was really unveiling and really honest.
We can't give what we don't have.
Mm,
And so we have to forgive the ability and give ourselves a sense of grace that at any given moment we're doing the best that we can. And if we don't have the capacity, we don't have
mm,
the capacity. If
yeah,
a building
that
is falling
was
and you can't be the one to pick it up, you don't have the capacity.
that is exactly what it was. Yeah. So it not necessarily face the shadow and integrate, but it was more of a embrace, uh, step into who you know you are, get that called out from someone else, and start to embrace that. And then it was actively living out those habits because girlfriend, we broke up. I'm not one to spiral, but I spiraled, and I was literally, this is so bad. I my friends called this couch mode, Gabe. I didn't get off the couch. I ate cookie dough by the tub, Toll House cookie dough by like the 2 pound tub with a spoon on the couch. That was what I did for weeks leading up to this. Then I went on a celery cleanse, and that freaking wrecked me. But after that point, after this weekend, I started to actively make changes in my life to start reflecting who I knew I was, even though I hadn't been living out that person. Like cookie dough, I cut that out, and I almost say like it was an addiction at that point. Straight up addicted to sugar. I've had cookie dough like 3 or 4 times since then in the last couple of years, which is something I'm very proud of because I love it. And I started working out. I started exercising. I had gone over 200 pounds at this point. I brought myself back down to like 160, 170. Started actually implementing the things I knew I needed to do. And that
Mm,
helped a lot as well.
wow. What a beautiful transformation. And you were grieving, and we all grieve in a different way. Anytime that love is cut off from us, we go through the process of grieving, and
Mm,
with great love comes great sorrow.
mm,
And that might not always be apparent because it's not, sometimes we believe that, well, maybe I didn't love that person that much, but really you loved what that represented in your life.
mm,
You loved who the identifier, who the identity was, the personality of who you are in that moment. And we grieve
mm,
that, and we don't always relate that directly to back to ourselves. We think it's the partner, but we're really
mm,
losing us
mm.
because that aspect of us is dying now, even if it's someone we didn't
Yeah.
want to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, we got Gabriel with the
This
thinking face.
ex- yeah. Mm, mm.
It's like a little taste.
Oh, yeah.
Um, Gabriel, thank you so much for being here. We're going to jump into our reading for the week, the midweek collective energy check-in. So we're not done with you. Hang out for a second. And everybody stay tuned. We're going to see what the cards say for the midweek. Okay, so this is not just for Gabriel, but it's for everybody. We have the Ace of Emotions. Look how cute. So pretty. That's a cherub. I'm all in my feminine. This cherub is announcing that a wonderful new emotional experience is coming into your life. You may meet someone new who makes your heart flutter, or your current relationship will experience a reawakening or a proposal. It's also possible that your intuitive abilities will be greatly increased by your open heart. Next card is Six of Abundance. That's so pretty. Look at that.
That's really nice.
Heaven opens its loving arms and pours abundance onto you. An unexpected gift is on its way. Accept it with gratitude and humility, knowing that you'll have a chance to return the generosity by giving to others in the future. Consider volunteering for a charitable organization. We have a win-win outcast forecast coming up, which is really nice. So if you needed a yes for something, there's your yes. And look for the signs. Universe, heaven is sending you signs all the time right now. So be open to it. And if you're seeking a romantic partner, 'tis the season. Love is coming in. We got a couple cards here with love. So love is coming in. Be open. Whatever you're seeking is seeking you in return. And don't you guys forget it. Don't you forget it. Okay, Gabriel, how are you feeling about this real quick little reading we just did?
Really, really well. Once again, very timely, very connective. I'm curious how you're feeling about this reading.
I am inviting this all in all of its entirety into my world. My heart is open and expansive, and I'm here for all the things.
Come on, come on.
We'll follow back up in a few weeks.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
On part 2. Is there anything you want to drop off for anybody at home watching? Any words of wisdom, any nuggets, speaking to someone who may have been in your shoes right now when you were in that weekend, in that crumbling, in that rebuilding phase?
It's okay to feel like everything's falling apart. And it's okay if everything is falling apart. Just because it's falling apart now doesn't mean it always will be. And if you're open to seeking the divine, if you're open to any sort of help that can give, you'll get it.
That's beautiful. Gabriel, thank you so much again for sharing. And thank you guys for being here. All of you at home, make sure you're tuning back in Wednesday night and Sunday night because we got your horoscopes coming up. But before we close this out, I have to reflect and give you guys my 30-second thoughts on this. But let me reflect. And we're going to do that con mucho amor. Do you or someone you know experience something supernatural that has left a positive impact on yourself or the lives of others? Want to share your story on our show? Please email Divine Encounters at e360tv.com. And together, let's create divine experiences. And now, the Oracle's final thoughts con mucho amor. What if everything that you ever were was just written around language? What if everything you wanted to become was also written around language? Could you choose to create the new spells and incantations that are going to catapult or catalyst you into who you want to become? Are you willing to surrender an outdated dictionary of Old English that no one could even understand anymore? It's okay to just flip the script and invite new synonyms into your world. Because after all, there's 100 shades of pink. I hope you guys go forward and seek what is seeking you in return and encounter more. And I dare you. And above all else, may you all go in love, light, and wisdom to know thyself, love thyself, and remember the divine always has your back. Ciao!
Everything is wrong, you feel like it's your fault. Just remember, I will be there for you, baby. Remember, there's nothing out there to get you, don't forget it. When life feels slow motion, just hold on. Just hold on.